All right. Now I got the stereo problem taken care of. Okay. Hey there, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the November live metaphysical chat. So happy you guys can join. I see a couple people here. Hey, Jacqueline. Hey, Glinda. Awesome. So I'm sure more people will be joining us as we get going and they get the notification. You know, I would like to be able to give you the link ahead of time so that you could join at 7, but every time I try to do that, it screws up, and then I end up having to start a second second stream. So it's like, oh my gosh, let's just go the simple way and I'll just start it live. And all of a sudden I'm getting a hot flash. So you have to excuse the red rosy cheeks. All right. Okay. Extends BSD. You got to tell me how you say that because that one eludes me. But happy November to you too. Awesome, awesome. So if you've got metaphysical questions, feel free to post them in the chat. I don't do personal questions on this metaphysical live stream, but anything you want to talk about metaphysical, I'm open for it. Let's see what the guides have to share with us. Okay. Jacqueline, did you see the notice on Facebook? Is that how you knew to come? Yes, absolutely. Post questions in chat. Yeah, that's why we're here. It's going to be a long, boring couple of hours if you guys don't ask questions. I mean, I got stuff I can talk about always, but it's more fun when you add your questions. Yeah, technology. Oh, okay. Makoto. Gotcha. The YouTube name is different. Well, I'm so glad you could join us. It's lovely to have you here. So if you've got a metaphysical question, pop it right in there in the chat and we'll dive right in while we're waiting for more people to join us. You guys get first dibs because you're here. Yeah, I'm going to have some exciting news for you guys in a few days because I've been working really hard on getting those books done. If you've been paying attention to the newsletters I've been sending out and some of the notices that I posted, I've been working really hard to get out the path to hearing your angels and guides and then the accompanying workbook. That's an assignment that Metatron gave me back in December. And I'm just now getting the book done. So it's taken me a while, but it was something that needed a little bit of time to simmer and mature. And now I'm super excited to get it out there for you guys so that you can join in the 21-day meditation challenge and learn to hear your angels and guides. Because, you know, for years I was wanting to teach people how to channel because everybody can channel. They just don't know how. And it's not like we all came with this guidebook that taught us how to channel, because the way you do it is going to be different from one person to the next. You know, our gifts are different. And so the way we approach it, the way we receive it is different. Like some people will get visions. Some people will have the auditory. Some people will just have the sensory. They'll feel it in their body. And for other people, it's, you know, a mixture of that. So it's like, how do you teach that? And how do you encapsulate that in a form that people can replicate and learn to do? So when Metatron gave me this assignment in December, I started doing it. It was 21 days of 15 minutes a day meditation. I didn't have a clue where this was going. It was just, this is your assignment. Please do this. And so, okay, fine, I'll do that. And as we got started, it hit me. That's what this is all about. This is teaching people how to channel. So going through that 21-day meditation process leads you into that connection with your angels and guides. And you'll figure out as you go the way that you receive the messages. There's also a support group so that you can talk to other people and find out how they're doing, get suggestions from them. And just the collective energy of being together in a group expands the abilities for everybody. So we did this, when did we start it? I think we started it sometime in July. We did the 21 days and we finished on Lionsgate 8A. And it was like, I didn't know that was coming either. Metatron just orchestrated this whole thing like the brilliant conductor. So it was amazing to me when I'm looking ahead on the calendar. It's like, oh, wow, we're ending on Lionsgate. This is really energetically consequential. It was all set up that way. And I'm just following along, not knowing all the stuff that's still to come. So when it was all said and done, it's like, wow, we have this beautiful roadmap for all of the light workers who are ready to step into their purpose, to get on that path and help us move forward into this new bright future. We've got a path now to help them do that. It's just so phenomenal. So I'm really excited to do the official launch and get that out to you guys. So that'll be, I think Saturday will probably be the official go launch day when I lower the price so that you can get it at the discount. But it's actually on Amazon now. I've got it uploaded. I'm doing all the final tweaking and all of that still to come. So it's going to be a really exciting week. And you know, it's really funny. I was noticing that I didn't even think about it. You know, first Monday is when I do this live stream and it's the Day of the Dead. So that's kind of an interesting little coincidence, isn't it? And maybe that will have an impact on the questions and the answers. So we're going to find out together. So let me just scan through your comments here. Oh, so YouTube let you know, Jacqueline. Okay, cool. Yeah, sometimes they do. We can talk about money, Jacqueline, as long as it's not in a personal manner, you know, broad generality kind of thing. So let me know what you're thinking and we'll figure it out. Hi, Melinda. Glad you could be here. I know it's a little late for you. Glinda, why you can't hear your daughter? I don't do personal questions tonight, Glinda, but every third Saturday of the month, I gather people on Zoom and we get together and I do answer personal questions there. That I don't live stream because what I do is I upload the replay with your faces hidden so that you can protect your privacy because we're talking about sometimes personal and sensitive topics. So if you haven't already, sign up for my VIP list. I'm going to type it in right now. Sign up for that and you will get the Zoom link so that you can join us on the third Saturday. We do that at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So bring that question. Be glad to answer it for you then. Yeah, Jacqueline, it is. It was one of those things I was really passionate about teaching because I know everybody can do it, but wow, how do you quantify that? So that's the really cool thing that evolved out of this 21 days is because each day you're getting into it. And I recorded my experiences that I had through each of the 21 days because that helps people to see that if they're struggling, it's normal. You don't just step into this and everything opens up and, you know, angels sing to you. There's a process you go through. It's building the trust. It's building that connection, having the faith to wait in silence. I would show up sometimes and I got nothing for 15 minutes. And I said, you know, hey gang, I channel all the time. So how come I'm getting nothing now? And they said, you know, the point of this whole exercise is you making the commitment, showing up. Now I did have gaps. I didn't do it a consecutive 21 days because it was a crazy time of year. It's around the holidays and things interfered, but that was okay. It didn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, that thing that we get about putting pressure on ourselves to be perfect, that's keeping us from those things that we desire. So when you let go of that need to be perfect, just get in there and do your very best. Your guides will step up and work with you. They'll fill in the gaps and marvelous things will happen. Before you know it, you'll be hearing them. And truly, most of you are already hearing them. It's just that you attribute it to your ego. You don't realize when it's your guides. And that's part of the process you go through, learning to distinguish the ego voice from the guides and the angels. So it's all in there. And I hope that you'll join us in the support group and learn how to do that, expand your abilities, because I'll tell you right now with what's going on in the world, the way that our ascension and Gaia's ascension is moving at breakneck pace right now. Things are really speeding up. We're going to need that. We need more light workers to come forward to join us as we move forward into this evolutionary process. We're going to fourth dimensional frequency. That's where we're headed. And that's going to take a recalibration of our DNA. Metatron talked about that in the, I think it was the October forecast, which you'll find on my channel. Once a month, I do a forecast, and I'm working on the November one right now. So hopefully I'll have that up by tomorrow. I got part of it today and I need to get a little bit more. So that's still to come. Oh, thank you so much for the congratulations. I really appreciate it. You've been using the word channeling more lately, Jacqueline. That is so cool. Yeah, it's calling all of us, I think. You know, we're feeling it, whether consciously or not. It's there. It's like beckoning. Come on, baby. Let's get into this relationship and let's soar together. So much is packed in there. So much yet awaits us. It's really an exciting time to be alive. You know, the funny thing, also in the October message from Metatron, he talked about how November or October rather was going to be this kind of an up and down, tumultuous time. And that he also talked about stretching time. The funny thing is I had forgotten all about that. And I was reviewing the messages before I came on tonight, just to see if there was a cohesive thread that I could share with you. And I was reminded when I was doing the book, the last 2 days, 2 books, actually, I got 2 books out in a very short space of time. So I got 2 books formatted and published in a matter of 2 days. And that's like, you just don't do that. You know, I had most of the body of the book, but I didn't have the connecting information. I didn't have the covers ready. I had to edit them all. So there was all that stuff that needed done before I could hit the publish button. And it's like, I can't believe I got all this done. And it really felt like while I was going through it, I kept looking at the clock and marveling at how early it still was. How can I still have that many more hours left in the day? So it really came home to me the last couple of days in October, like this stretching time thing. And that's something that we can all do when we stay present in the moment, instead of always focusing on what's coming next and rushing deadlines. It just expands to accommodate us in the most marvelous, exciting way. So that's something to remember when you're racing for a deadline. Slow down, breathe, relax, and allow your angels and guides to stretch the time for you. Because when you stay present moment by moment, they do stretch it. And you will just amaze yourself at how much you're able to get done. So that's a massive gift. Oh, thank you, Melinda. Yeah, me too. I got the proofs, so getting really down to the wire, putting it all together. Jacqueline, in regards to money, why is it easier for some people to receive more than others? Is there a secret to becoming aligned to more? Yeah. It's just like anything else you're manifesting. So don't get into the mode of thinking that money is special. It's just another manifestation. You can manifest money as easy as you can manifest parking spaces, which most of us can do pretty well if we've put any effort into it. The trick is not focusing on what you don't have. The more you focus on, oh, it's not there yet, and let that go, and instead focus on the joy and the excitement, the being present in every moment, living, not toiling. We're supposed to be living, having this fun, expansive experience. So when you get into that and you're feeling really good because you're focused on gratitude and appreciation for what you've already created, that's what opens the doors for more to come in. So an analogy for you, Jacqueline, would be one that was brought home to me last year. And that is, if I focus on how few subscribers I have on my YouTube channel, it just grinds to a really slow crawl. If instead I flip the script and I'm in gratitude and appreciation for all the amazing people who are subscribed and who show up to watch my videos, to interact, to get these messages from Metatron, that opens the door and it expands. So in March, I got about 1,000 new subscribers just from one appearance. And so grateful for all of you for being here, because you make my work feel even more purposeful. You know, I'm here in this little vacuum, just cranking it out as fast as I can, as I'm led to. But when you come forward and you consume that work that Metatron is channeling through me, and you're in appreciation for it, you get on your path, it all expands into this massive love bubble of light and love that we together join arms and move forward into fulfilling the prophecy of Earthtopia. And that's the exciting project that we've got going on now. Of course, in addition to each of us living our own purposeful path, because just because we've signed on to do this big prophecy, that doesn't mean that we put aside our own purposeful journey. That's always first and foremost. This is just an extension of it. It's something that will allow us to expand even further. And truly, it's necessary because we're going to be going through this huge transformation into the 4th dimensional frequency. Maybe you're already feeling some of that. You know, if you're feeling spacey or very fatigued, things are just off, not quite right. Maybe you've got some odd aches and pains that aren't normal for you, and you can't attribute them to anything in particular. That could be part of it, because if you can imagine, what does it take to recalibrate your DNA from third dimension to fourth dimension? That's got to be massive. And I liken that to my friend Donna Blevins, who is, what is she? She's 6'5", and she grew 9 inches in 1 year. That put so much pressure and force on her tendons that they were ripping away from the bones. We're talking that kind of a massive growth, if you can imagine how uncomfortable that is. So when I talked to Metatron about that, okay, so yeah, we're going through this process, but how do we mitigate the discomfort? Because none of us want to suffer. We're not into pain. So he said, breathe your way through it, relax, don't resist it. Just like everything else, it's the same answer, right? It's breathe, relax, allow, get into the flow, and you'll get through it faster and easier. It's when you resist and you go into contortions trying to release the pain and things that it can prolong it. So if you are feeling odd stuff like that, just take a moment to be thankful that you're going through that process, that you are in the ascension process right now. And it's going to be phenomenal when we get to the other side. Still have a ways to go yet. It's not going to be tomorrow, but we are getting closer and closer, which is so exciting. Let me pop back in here and check what I've missed. Okay, just scanning the comments. Hi, Dawn Marie. Thanks for coming. Hi, Beth. Thanks. I'm glad you could be here. And if the new people who just showed up, if you've got questions, please put them in the chat. I want to be sure we get to your questions. We got plenty of time. There's only a few people here. What have we got? 12 people here now. So you're gonna have lots of time to ask questions. So the sky's the limit on metaphysical questions. Glinda, what is the feeling you might experience when you've been able to raise your vibration? I think I kind of just talked about that, didn't I? That's funny. So it can be anything, Glinda, and it's different for everybody. So the way you kind of know that it's part of the ascension process is that it's different from what you've normally been experiencing. Or if it's like those odd pains that you might get other times, they're not connected to anything. You can't, pinpoint something that you did, something you ate different, or some exertion you did to cause them. They're just there. And that spaciness, the brain fog, that's something you don't normally have, and that suddenly shows up. That could be part of the ascension process. So those are questions actually you can bring to the third Saturday, and we can ask specifically for you, Glinda, this thing that I'm experiencing, is it ascension symptoms? Because if it's not, we'd like to find out for you what it is. So that's something you can do as well. And for all of you, when you go through this meditation process and learn to hear your angels and guides, you can ask those questions yourself and get the answers. That's the really phenomenal thing. For so many years, I was frustrated because I learned how to do this. It took me a while. It took a number of years to get to the place where it was kind of fluent, but everybody can do it. It's just, we've all been taught to pray, 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 unceasingly pray. Nobody ever taught us how to hear. And that's kind of an important part of the equation. That comes from that old disempowered paradigm where, we're just like these puppets and divine is pushing us around and orchestrating things. And that's just not the truth of how it is at all. We were all created as these sovereign souls to come here to have these experiences, which divine then by extension experiences through us. So it is important that we get out there, we make our own choices, we have our own experiences, we expand our consciousness. And right now is the time you want to catch up if you're feeling a little bit behind, because that chasm between third and fourth dimension is going to be greater for you if you haven't already been on the path. For those light workers who have already been doing this and they've been moving forward for a while, it's going to be way easier. For them, it's just going to be, like a little stroll uphill. It's just a whole different experience. So now is that time to call all the other light workers in and say, hey, come on, let's form our peace train and get moving forward. Because Metatron's been talking about the peace train for a while. He calls what we're going through the peace process. And I only have a little glimmer of what that might mean, but it's going to expand. Mostly, I think it's about getting rid of the bigotry and the hatred and just experiencing more love for the entire planet, for yourselves and for others. I have an interesting story I'll share with you about that. I recently took this prayer intensive with Janet Connor, and one of the processes that we did, we were going through and we were clearing all of our chakras and cutting all the, they call them Aka cords, getting rid of all the negative stuff. And we cut them all, we clean them up, we transmute them. And at the end of that session, I had this overwhelming urge to like, oh, just stretch like a sinewy cat. And I couldn't stretch enough. It felt like I was like, you know, one of those stretch cartoon people. I just wanted to stretch and stretch and stretch. And it was really an odd sensation. I didn't understand what it was about, except I could feel space being created in me. So it's like all that clearing made all this space within me. And then, of course, the next question is, well, we can't have a vacuum. What's going to fill that space? The following week, when we met again, right before we went into session, it downloaded. It was love. I was being filled with love. All that space was cleared to fill my being with more love, because the work that I'm doing and sharing Metatron's messages is bringing more love to the world. That's what's going to turn things around. More love for everybody that we share. That love, it's going to flood out like a sonic boom across the globe and transform. That's what's coming. So that was just a marvelous demonstration of some of the experiences that we're going to be going through. And yours will be different, most likely, because we're all wired different. We're all in different places on our journey, but it's so exciting. So part of this is being present in the moment, paying attention to things like that, writing them down, because even if you don't understand them right now, you will at some point understand them. Your guides and angels will start connecting the dots for you. Literally, they will connect the dots, and you'll all of a sudden see the pieces come together. And it's like, whoa, look at this amazing picture. This is where I've been headed. And I, in the moment, didn't see it because, you know, you're right down there in the middle of it. You can't see the bigger picture until you've gone some distance. And then you look back in hindsight. You have that retrospective moment where all the pieces just magically come together, and you see this grand tapestry that you have been creating. It's just so marvelous. Beth, you say you're feeling fatigued. Yeah. And, you know, of course, we all have fatigue from now and then, but I think if you're feeling it in an unusual way right now, then that's probably part of this transmutation process that's going on. Yeah, Jacqueline, trust is huge right now, because if we don't lean into that trust and move forward on that path, then we're going to be closing a lot of doors. We're not going to be stepping forward and taking the hands of our angels and guides as they lead us forward on this journey. And that means we're probably going to get off course and, you know, go through a lot of stuff that we don't really need to go through. Okay, scanning some more. Amy, thank you for the congratulations. I appreciate that. Yeah. And more are coming every day, because, you know, there are so many people hungry for this message. They know something's happening at a very deep level, but they don't really understand what it is. That's why it's important to get the books out and the videos out, to, you know, write the articles and the newsletters and just keep speaking it. When I was looking back at the 5 months worth of forecasts from Metatron that I've been sharing on YouTube now, I could see this thread that was going through. I mean, he's always talking about, of course, Earthtopia and our ascension process. That's always woven in there. But each month there was some special focus. So let's see, in June, it was calling all the light workers to awaken to their truth. Then in July, it was about, we've got to build our strong foundation so that we can move forward on the peace train together. In August, he was talking about both political and planetary shifts that were going on. And he was like, use a preponderance of caution in August, because there are hungry wolves at the door. And that was metaphorically speaking, of course, but there was a lot of planetary shifting as well as political shifting going on in August. So he was, you know, giving us all the basics along with that special thing that was happening in August. Then in September, he's talking about September being a dark month, and that, you know, we also discussed the psychic battle that's to come as we move forward into Earthtopia, and light reclaims the planet for all of us as we move forward into this love and light and this beautiful golden age. So he said in September, you wanted to double down on sharing your light, focus on abundance, beam love to the world, and at the same time, be a good role model for those light workers who are coming up behind you, because we're all doing that. Whatever stage we're at, we're role modeling for those who are a few steps behind us, just like those ahead of us are role modeling for us. We're all moving forward together. We're just at different stages, which is perfect. And then in October, he called it a roller coaster ride, because that's when the DNA recalibration was really going to kick into high gear. So if you felt more of that in October, that would be the reason. And then he talked about the pandemic actually having a purpose, that it wasn't some random thing. It was part of the divine plan. It had a purpose. It's moving us forward faster. It's accelerating things, because there's a lot of souls who are ready to depart the planet. They're not choosing to go through this big transformation with us as we move into Earthtopia. And the pandemic was just a way for them, a large number of them, to exit the earth all at once. And there's still things at play with it. And I'm sure we don't totally understand it all yet. We'll get more of it, of course, in hindsight. But there's so much, so many strings and threads that are being pulled and interwoven all at the same time. And for each of us, it's only about getting the parts that are, relevant to us as we move forward. We don't need to understand the big picture. We just need to focus on our part of it, doing the best that we can each day as we move forward. That's what it's all about. So Makoto, yeah, I really hope that the published book will be really helpful for people. Dawn, you say part of the ascension process has been noticing things that used to ground you and help you reconnect, and they're no longer as powerful. You had to up level. Yeah, it's like going from, kindergarten into elementary school and on into high school. You pick up new pieces of information that weaves into what you already know. It's a building block approach, and that will just keep expanding. And now you've adjusted to a different way of connecting to source energy and get grounded. That's awesome. Yeah, so important right now. You're feeling the love, Makoto. That's awesome. So glad. Okay, you guys, I'm getting to the bottom of the questions here in the comments. So bring them on. What do you want to know about? Is anything metaphysical we can talk about? Amy, you say you love taking the hands of the angel and guides. It's a new visual. Yeah, there's so many of them. I've been channeling Metatron for, 2 or 3 years now. And it feels like each day as I walk through life, I'm holding Metatron's hand. He's like my best friend there all the time. And you can have that too. Everybody can connect with Metatron. But the thing is, you don't have to connect with Metatron specifically, because it's a collective. You've got your own personal team of guides and angels. You can connect with them. And of course you are. Then there are the archangels that you can connect with. There's enlightened masters. There's all sorts of beings that are available for you to connect with. So if you feel drawn to any one or a number of them, reach out, ask them for special help. You can do that. But, sometimes I go in to a session and I get just the collective guides and angels. And that's fine too, because they're really all sharing the same message. They're connected to Metatron, who oversees all of the Akashic Records, who is then connected to Creator. So it really is all coming from Creator. It's just filtering down the levels. So none is better than the others. So whomever you connect with is fine. But you can ask if you want someone specific. You can even ask for your departed loved ones to come forth and to connect with you through the Akashic Records, and they will share with you what they can. Of course, they don't have necessarily the higher wisdom of some of the other guides, but yeah, you can do all of that. It's so expansive. There's so much available to you there that perhaps you hadn't even considered before. So I encourage all of you, reach out, ask. And Metatron's been beating the drum about that too, because it's like they can't intervene and help you Your free will is always at play. You need to ask for help, and then they will come in and they will do whatever they can. They will more than meet you halfway. But definitely ask, and nothing is too small to ask. Anything that you need help with. Just need help going to sleep, you can ask for that too. We have a lady in the support group who is a chronic insomniac. And so one of the things that came up in our conversations is it just flowed out of my fingertips as I was answering somebody's question, is call upon a squadron of sleep angels to stand over you and to facilitate your sleep, to keep you safe, to keep away the nightmares, so that you can get deep, restful, restorative sleep. That just kind of flowed through, and it's like, oh, well, wow, that's really a great message for the insomniac lady. And she seems to be getting a little bit more sleep. It's a process. She's got some stuff to go through yet. But it's just amazing how something that helps one person expands and helps the many. And so many of the messages that came through during that process, and all the time actually, are that way. You know, when people come to the third Saturday Zoom calls, they often, when it's their turn to ask a question, they'll say, wow, you already answered my question, because somebody else asked something and the answer was just what they were looking for. But that's okay. Ask another question. You know, we all get to come and bring what we have. And the more that we do that, the more that we help people, because we are all joined in that commonality, even though we have individual things that we're needing special help with. But ask, and ask again. That's super important. Dawn Marie, you hadn't thought about the pandemic in that way before, and I'm avoiding that word for a reason, because, you know, powers that be kind of thing. It was a clearing of souls on a massive level. Yeah. And that's an important thing to understand, because there was so much grief and devastation attached to it. If we can have that understanding that there was a purpose to it, it just was not some random thing. There was a greater plan in place. We know that those souls were ready to go, or they wouldn't have left. That's just the way it works. So if they were choosing to leave, then why be sad? Celebrate that they've moved on to the next stage of their soul journey, and they'll be back around again when they're ready. You know, they've just chosen to skip this part of the evolutionary process, and they'll come back when things have settled down and we're in the golden age of Earthtopia. And that's fine too. There's no judgment about people who don't want to go through this, because it's not going to be easy. And those of us who are choosing to stay and go through it, we've been preparing for this over many lifetimes. So, you know, we've got kind of a quiver of arrows, if you will. We've got the tools that we've been working on to help us through this, and we were prepared for it. But even then, we can change our mind if we want to, and still no judgment. So yeah, there was a lot going on there. But I think just because of all that grief that can really drag people down and get us off of our path, it's good to have that understanding. And in fact, for all death, you know, it's the soul leaves when it's ready to leave. So rather than being devastated and putting your life on hold because you miss this person so much, what if you celebrated with them that they graduated to the next level, and you connected with them through the Akashic Records and had conversations, so you don't have to feel like they're gone. They're not gone. They're just on the other side of the veil, and you can still connect with them. So they will never be gone. Anytime you think about them, they draw near. And the thing about that is, for some people, they say, well, I never feel them. I don't hear them. I don't see them. Let go of all those judgments. You can pretend that you feel them or see them or hear them. And that eventually will turn into it being real. Because when you're connecting, when you're channeling, it's very much like daydreaming. It's that same kind of energy, and everybody can daydream. So you're probably getting little bits and pieces of it, but you're dismissing it, thinking that it's a fantasy, you're making it up. No, if you choose to believe and go with that energy that it's true, that you really are connecting with them, you really will be connecting with them, because they're getting what you're putting out. You're just not feeling or hearing them yet. So just pretend for a little while until you start to have those little breakthroughs and you see how real it really is. It's a marvelous experience. So you don't have to be in deep grief missing people. You can still connect with them whenever you like. So Dawn Marie says the earth, plants, trees, animals used to really ground and connect you. They still do, but not as powerfully as before. You've learned how to connect with fifth dimensional energy and draw that inward now. Yeah, that's beautiful. But you can still connect with all of nature as well. One doesn't preclude the other. You can even connect with them in the fifth dimension if you want, but they still have lessons to teach us. You can go hug a tree, have a conversation with a tree. You can, connect with rocks, plants, talk to them, connect with them, because there's consciousness there. There's consciousness in everything. And if we open ourselves up and allow for that possibility, then we can start grasping and communicating with them. And then imagine what might happen. That's a whole other level of expansion. So if that's something that interests you, then just go out and hang out with them. And you start talking to them and, give it a little bit, tune in, see if you're feeling anything. Often you will feel something in your body, but if you're not tuned in and looking for it, you would dismiss it. You wouldn't realize it was part of the way they're communicating with you. When I first started doing this work, I didn't get very much in my body. I would get visions. I would see like full-blown movies. And then I would get the voice that I say hear, but it's not an auditory hearing. It's like I hear it and I kind of see it in my head. That's the hearing I'm talking about. And yours, again, could be different. And then gradually I started feeling it in my body. And now I find I get more of the feeling in my body than anything else. And the visions are still there, but the feeling in the body it's just so quick and it's just there. And it's when you're busy doing other things, if you're aware and looking for it, that's a faster way. It's shorthand for them to reach you and give you information. So tune in, look for it, ask for it, write it down when it happens. When all these experiences start happening, write them down, because if you don't, you'll forget. One day you will have shifted into a new, more expansive, connected place where you're just getting this stuff. And you'll totally forget the days when you were so frustrated because you weren't getting anything. And it's important to know that, to be cognizant of it and be in gratitude for where you are now. That's really, really important. Just grab a drink because I'm talking a mile a minute here. So Beth says, what is the best way to connect with angels and guides? Are you in the 21-day meditation group, Beth? Because that's part of what we're doing there. That process is the fastest, most efficient way that I found to do that. I was astonished when people came in who said they've never been able to hear or see any of this stuff or even feel it. And after just a few days, they were starting to hear, feel, see. It was happening for them. So part of it was the collective energy of the group, because anytime we do something with that collective energy, it's more powerful. It will help us all to move forward faster. So if you're not already in there, you should be, because it'll help you a lot. And mostly it's just faith and trust, leaning into it, giving it the space, allowing it to come through, and taking baby steps. Don't judge your progress. Whatever you're getting is perfect, and it will keep expanding. I know you understand this because you've done that in your own work. I heard you say on that interview the other day with Melinda, when you were doing your lipsology. Beth does lip print readings, by the way, people. She will, you kiss with lipstick on a piece of paper and she can read that and tell you all kinds of things about yourself, which is really fascinating. But you said in that interview, Beth, that you weren't really all that intuitive before. And I guess that about you just from having known you before, and the work that you did was not intuitive kind of work. But as you've gone into your lipsology and expanding, you've been expanding your intuition. So imagine how much more it can expand when you start deliberately connecting on a regular basis. And that's the key. It's the practice. It's toning the muscle. It's showing up regularly. And it doesn't have to be hours and hours. You don't have to sit and go om. It's just intentionally connecting. So Metatron picked 15 minutes because that was good. Most people can manage 15 minutes. You don't have to push it any further than that until later on or until you're ready. It will expand later and you'll get more. But in the beginning, 15 minutes is just perfect. But then there will be days where you're so busy, most you can do is 2 minutes, and that's fine too, whatever you can do. Because you'll find that as you do this and you start toning that muscle, that you'll be able to get into the shifted energy state where you are receiving really fast. So 2 minutes could be all you need to get a download. And if you got 5 minutes, that's great too. But Metatron calls it mini meditative moments. It's where you consciously pause, take a few deep breaths, and then just be still for those 2 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you can manage. Allow whatever to come through. You can ask questions, or you can just be still and allow whatever they want to share to come through. Just practice with it and see what feels best to you. Because we're all wired differently, the answer is going to be different for everybody. But those are the bones of it, the structure that you can fall back on. That's where you start. That's the foundational work. And once you start getting it coming through, it's going to expand. It's going to go faster and faster. You know, it's funny, I had this coach a few years back who would do these exercises where you needed to get into that meditative state to be able to follow through and do the exercise. And, you know, I could be there in seconds because I do it a lot. It was always funny because she's sitting there waiting for me to be ready. And I'm like, I'm there. And you can do that too, which means that as you're going about your day, walking around, doing your business, whatever it is, you can be getting little mini downloads. I know Melinda does that all the time. She goes for her walks and she's getting those downloads. That's how it works for her. That's how she's wired. So if you are wired like she is, you might be getting those little mini downloads all the time, but you may not be conscious that that's what they are. Those little inspired ideas that pop in out of nowhere, something that you weren't even thinking about, totally different topic. Those are your guides. Pay attention, write it down, take action, and you'll get more. When you engage with them, you open the doors for them to come in and engage more with you. You know, they're always there waiting for you, holding their hands out saying, come on, baby, let's go. We've got so much we want to share with you. So it's about you making the time, taking a little bit of effort to connect, and then trusting the process. Don't doubt it. Whatever you get, be grateful, write it down, and keep going, because there's so much more they want to share with you. It's so exciting. It's so wonderful. It's such a blissful, joyful way to be, because when you're in that state of, hey, I'm open to talking with you, whatever you want to share, I'm going to take those inspired ideas, I'm going to run with them, I'm going to be in a state of gratitude. That's soul nirvana, you guys. It doesn't matter that you haven't yet manifested that money that Jacqueline was talking about. It doesn't matter. You know it's all in process and it will come in perfect divine timing. You've set the stage for it. So you're not worried about what's not here yet. You're not worried about what's coming down the road next year. You're in the moment. You are living your life fully, expansively, joyfully. That's how you make the manifesting speed up. Hi, Terry. Great to see you. And Dawn says, you're very connected in that way. Some days you see it, hear it, or feel it, and some days it's all the above. Yeah, that's wonderful. Just keep doing it, and it'll keep expanding. Because as much as it's wonderful now, and you are maybe astonished at how much you're able to get, it's going to expand more and more and more. And just imagine how much more it will expand when you hit that barrier and you slip into fourth dimensional frequency. I mean, I don't even know what that's going to feel like, but I know it's going to be off the charts, phenomenal. You know, I saw this thing with Neil deGrasse Tyson a while back. He was doing this little demonstration. You know, we know what third dimension looks like. We can see the cube, right? So we can see the 3 dimensions, and we see that around us in our world. But fourth dimension, you know, that's out there. We can't conceive of it yet. We can't see that extra slice, that extra dimensional slice being added in. It's beyond our ability to conceive at this moment. But, and he was talking like tetrahedrons and all kinds of weird stuff like that I don't totally get, but I guess we'll get it when we get there, won't we? So we will slowly slip into that as the earth slips into it. We have to do it together because she's going to shift into fourth dimension. We've got to shift or we couldn't exist on her. We've got to be at that same frequency to be here. So yeah. And I don't know if it's going to be like we're on the precipice, we're on the precipice, we're on the precipice, and it's like zoom, we go and we're there, or if it's like a more gradual, just slipping across that frontier. But we're going to find out, and not too far in the future. It is coming. Okay, back to the chat. Jacqueline, you've heard recently that time is collapsing. Is that true? And is this a good time to heal across all lifetimes on all different levels? Well, it's always a good time to heal across all lifetimes, all different levels. So yeah, now is even better than before. And time collapsing, I'm not sure how you mean that, but what comes to me is that time doesn't really exist in a linear fashion the way we see it. That's just our perception. In the Akashic Records, everything is happening at the same time. So it's like a layer cake. You know, all the layers of time and dimensions are there layered on top of one another, happening, you know, at the same time. And that's a little mind-blowing. It's kind of hard to conceive, but it is. So it's like you, Jacqueline, are here right now on Earth living this third dimensional existence. Meanwhile, a portion of your soul is in the fifth dimension, because you're always there connecting and going to soul school and working on that aspect of yourself. Meanwhile, multiple lifetimes that you have lived are going on at the same time, all interlayered. And I don't know how you process that. That's just a lot to process. So for myself, I've chosen just to focus on the one that I'm here present living, because that's really all I can manage. That's enough. There's so much expansion happening right now that I don't think I could handle anymore. So collapsing, I don't think collapsing is exactly the right word for it, but it is shifting. And as we move into fourth dimension, it'll obviously shift some more. And I don't know what that will feel like. So it's something I can ask about. I'll see if I get anything about it and let you know. It's always fun to take really cool questions like that and go in and, you know, do a query. I would try right now, but it would take me a little while to get the information. So that's best done when I've got the quiet and I can focus and see what I can get, and I'll let you know about it. Beth says, thank you. You're so welcome. Dawn Marie, you still do that? Oh, I think I got that one already. So you're connecting with nature. This darn chat thing keeps bouncing around. It's hard to keep track of where I'm at. You'd think with all the advances in technology that they could fix that, wouldn't you? So if I miss somebody, if I scroll too far and I miss you, just please post again and I'll get you. I don't want to miss anybody. Terry says energy magnifies. Yeah, it's expanding in the most exciting ways right now. Melinda, we have to make a big decision in the next week to go on vacation or not in December. You're getting a yes, Ryan isn't. So what are some sign examples to ask the angels because you feel stuck? Okay. So for something like that, I always just ask about what's optimal. You know, is this the optimal time to go on vacation? Because that's the first thing you'd want to know about. Is it the right timing? And then you might ask about the places you're considering going. Is it the optimal places? So I would phrase it that way. Try that. And then, you know, let me know offline how that goes. And we can talk about it in our private group about that. But exciting that you're going. It's wonderful. Dawn says you get those mini downloads constantly. Then there are days that the downloads happen so deeply and abundantly that you can't keep up with writing it down. Yeah, so here's the trick about that, Dawn. When it starts coming too fast, you can say, pause, please, and they will. You catch up, and then you can say, okay, go ahead, proceed. I do mine with my hands on the keyboard so I can get it, because there's no way I could write all this stuff in detail and keep up with it. And I like to transcribe these sessions in as much detail as possible, because you never know which little detail, like the color or the direction, is going to be important. So I like to incorporate all that. And for me, typing, because I'm a touch typist, works really well. The only trick is I usually do it with my eyes closed so that I can be focused. So if you're doing that and you struggle a little bit, the J and the F keys, if you touch them, you will notice there's a little ridge on the J and F keys. So if you're typing with your eyes closed and you're worried about your hands getting off, just keep feeling for the J and the F keys. That'll help you stay on track. But the other thing you could do is you could record it by speaking it. That's possible too, and then transcribe it, because it's nice to have it in writing. But yeah, don't worry about it, and don't let that get you in a place of stress. You can just ask them to pause. And the same thing goes for if your guides are waking you up in the middle of the night and you're not cool with that, you can say, hey, can we make a date for you to come at this time of day, because that works better for me. I'd like to be awake to receive the messages, and I'd like to get a good night's sleep. There's so many people I've met who get woken up in the middle of the night with these messages, and for some reason they feel like they must wake up and do it right then. And you can if you want to, but I personally don't want to. I like my sleep, and I don't want to get woken up in the middle of the night. They will accommodate you if you ask. There's absolutely no reason they need to do it in the middle of the night. The reason that they do it is because that's when you're open to them getting through. So once you've established the connection and you can download, then you can do it at your convenience. So don't hesitate to let them know. You get to choose when. You get to set the boundaries. They will accommodate you because they serve you. You don't serve them. And that's huge. That's something that Metatron's been talking about lately, because for so long we've had this idea that the angels and the guides were above us and not worshiping them, but, really highly looking to them. And no, it turns out they were created to serve us. So we can ask for anything we want as much as we want. And it's their pleasure. In fact, they say, ask more, because if you don't ask, we're just sitting around twiddling our thumbs and it gets really boring. So they're anxious to help you as much as they can, as fast as they can. So just keep asking for more. So Makoto says, how can we help those who are still struggling with mundane issues, who are not necessarily open to metaphysical things, while we're still working on ourselves? That's a great question, Makoto. So here's the truth about that. You can't help somebody who's going the opposite direction. You don't want to leave your path and go the opposite direction for them. So if they're not open to hearing, it's okay, bless them and let them go. One day they will be ready, and then maybe they'll ask for help. Meanwhile, the ones who do ask for help, you give them what you can, you help, but so many people are just not ready. They're at a different level than you are. Maybe they're a few steps behind you and they need like an interim person. So yours to do is just to be open to helping those who are at that level that you are ready to teach at, or just to lead by example. So don't worry about it. They're all on their path. Their path is perfect for them. You are not responsible for them. You don't have to do anything to change them. In fact, you don't want to, because they're sovereign souls. So really, the best you can do is just love them and be there if they ask for help. Hope that makes sense. Let me know. Susan, yay, so glad to see you. We have to catch up. I want to hear about your trips, because you have a lot to share, lady. Susan went on this amazing retreat in another country, and I won't say more about it because I don't know if it's okay, but I can't wait to hear how that went. Terry, you've been channeling entities from different dimensions and planets. Is it weird that so many different ones are coming forward? No, it's not. There are a lot of beings from other planets who are really fascinated with what's going on on Earth right now, because we are in this massive expansion period. So what happens on Earth affects them, because, we're all connected, right? If Earth were to disappear, for instance, that would affect all the other planets out there, and possibly even other galaxies, because we are all energetically connected. So it affects them. They're curious. They want to see what's going on. That's why they offer guidance to help us, keep going forward in a positive way. But no, there's a lot of them out there who are reaching out, trying to share information. The only thing I would caution you is to make sure that you know that they're from the light, that they're not dark beings, because there are some of those around too. So for myself, the way I do that is I only go through the records. If some being came to me not through the records, I would discount them because I don't know who they are. I don't know where they came from or what their purpose is. But when I go into the records and I connect, then I know it's all love, light, and truth, and I'm safe. Because if it comes through the records, it's all divine and you can trust it. So that's the only thing I would say. Doesn't mean that what you're getting is not a good thing. It might be perfectly fine. That's just, what works for me. So I share that just in case it's helpful. Terry says no time or space. Yeah, it's really all just continuous. Carol, it's your first time catching a live. Awesome. Welcome. So glad you're here. If you've got a question, please put it in the chat because I think I'm at the bottom, you guys. Yeah, I'm at the bottom. We have 14 people here now. Thank you all for being here. I so appreciate it. I know I didn't give you a lot of notice. If you are on my mailing list, I wrote to you on Saturday about this, this live stream, but I didn't manage to get it posted onto YouTube until this afternoon. So I apologize for the late notice. I will try to do better next time. But just so you know, first Monday of the month at 7 p.m. That's the regular gathering for this particular metaphysical chat. And then for the new people who showed up since I talked about it, every third Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, I do a live Zoom gathering where you can ask personal questions. So if you want to join us on that call, you need to be on my mailing list, and I'll just pop that in here again. Then I will send you the Zoom link so that you can join us. And the thing about that is, I invite hundreds of people to this call, and usually anywhere between 20 and 40 people show up. So most everybody gets more than one question. And if you hesitate to show up because you think it's going to be a big crowd and I won't get to you, nope, that's probably why it's such a small group. I'm open to having more people there. So what happens is we end up going around and people get 2 or 3 questions because I'm committed to that amount of time. So I would love it if more people came and then everybody got one specific question answered, because that way we're serving more people. And I understand people don't have questions every single month, and that's okay. But when you've got something you need help with, it's there. That's a free service that I offer to the people who subscribe to my mailing list. And, it's my way of giving back because not everybody is able to purchase readings. I understand that. So this is a mini reading that I can do for you and help you out. And you will be amazed how much information you can get in a few minutes. In fact, if you go on my playlists, you will find a whole long list. I think there's over 2 years worth of them now, monthly gatherings with that Q&A that's going on. You can find it. It's under channeled messages. So there's a ton of it there. You can see and get an idea of what we do. And those questions are all over the place too. Lots of money questions, relationship questions, career questions, metaphysical sometimes, and just all over the board. But yeah, it's a fun time that we have together, and it's really wonderful energy. So it's just a fun thing to be there, even if you don't have questions, just to be in that collective energy. Because what happens is, we're all there in that Zoom room together, and all of that energy just expands like a sonic boom in the most marvelous way. So the entire experience is just very uplifting and feels so good. I'm usually buzzing for hours afterwards. It's just so lovely. And I suspect that the participants are as well. Okay. Melinda says, thank you. You're so welcome. Barb says, hello. Thanks for being here, Barb. I appreciate that. Terry says, my guides and angels are always here, but you will do the records too. That's awesome. Yeah, your guides and angels are always with you. Absolutely. So if you know that that's them and you trust that, then you don't have to go through the records. And Terry says, thank you. You're welcome. Makoto says, it makes sense. With current world events, it's hard to see quite a few running to all directions when stillness could help. But yes, love and sovereign soul, a great reminder. Yeah, it is hard, Makoto, when you know and you feel it and you've got the answers, you just want to love them and share it with them. But if they're not ready, they're not going to accept it. And that takes you into casting your pearls before swine, right? From the Bible. If you've read that, you would be familiar with it. So the thing is, you use discernment in who you share information with. It's like being psychic. I don't just walk up to people and say, oh, I got this hit for you and share it with them. That would be intrusive. So I wouldn't do that. If somebody came to me, then yeah, they're giving me permission to share with them. So it's about that discernment of who you share with and what you share with, and use your intuition for that. Feel it in your body. You know, sometimes I'll be talking to somebody and I'll get this little picture popping up in my head. And now I know I'm supposed to share that with them. But many, many years of my life, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that was a psychic gift that I had because it hadn't all opened up for me yet. So I didn't share it. And a lot of people missed messages. But now that I know it, I faithfully share it because I'm the messenger. Whatever I get, I'm supposed to share. And if that's the case for you, if you get that intuitive hit, then share it. And you can do it in a way that doesn't offend them in case they're not open to it. So it's like you're just dropping this little crumb. So like I might say to somebody, I just got a picture of you riding in this pontoon boat and you're having the great time. Are you somebody who's into boating? And if you do it in kind of a, you know, I don't know the word I'm looking for. I'm missing the word, you guys. Anyway, you do it in that fashion. They might laugh about it. They might tell you what it means, or it might totally go over their head. Until later, they'll usually get a hit. Because when those things come, there's a reason. And they may not know it in the moment, but eventually it will sink in and they'll get it. So it's just like those, you just drop them and let them go to do with what they choose. We can't control what people do with what we share with them, but it's ours to share it and then just move on in faith and trust that we did our part. The rest is up to them. I hope that makes sense. Susan, no questions. Just lovely to be here. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I've missed your energy while you were traveling. Carol, thank you. You love listening and learning. That's awesome. I hope you'll come to the third Saturday because there's a lot to listen to there. Hi, Harry's mom. Great to see you. Is the doorkeeper spirit guide the one who keeps the Akashic Records? Well, Metatron is the overseer of the Akashic Records. I'm not sure if that's what you mean, but then there are all kinds of angels and guides. So you have your own personal team. So when you go into the records, your personal team is going to come forward. And then sometimes like special assignment ones will pop in to help you. So like early on when I first started, I would get these biblical figures popping in only because, you know, I spent a lot of my younger years reading the Christian Bible. And so the stories of Isaiah and Ezekiel and Jeremiah, you know, they were there. That was something that my guides could use to connect with me. So they will use things that are familiar with you. So it's like Isaiah came and we had a conversation. We sat on a bench and he gave me this amazing lesson. And probably they chose Isaiah because that was one of the books that I particularly connected to. So there was more trust built into it. So they'll do stuff like that. They'll pick these familiar venues or people just because that's going to be the most effective way to get through to you. And then as I learned to trust and visited more often, those things changed and they morphed into green dragons and flying elephants and all sorts of manner of beings. A pterodactyl one time came, you know, lots of birds will show up. Cyclops showed up, you know, so all kinds of creatures will show up. And it's just things that have some resonance for you that they can connect with you because they teach in metaphor a lot because they're not allowed to tell us what to do. They can't influence our decisions. So they give us these broad generalities, which can be really frustrating because when you want a straight answer, it's like, oh, come on already. But they can't do that if it would cause you to change your free will because you're following what they told you to do. So they give you these metaphors and these stories to lead you in the right direction so that you can figure it out. And really, it's kind of fun when you get into it and you understand it's this game you're playing with your team. So they're feeding you all these fun stories, and then you're getting the symbolism for it and applying it. So after one of those kind of sessions, I would go Google the things that I saw for the symbolism so that I could put together the bigger picture of the message. And there always is one, multi-layered usually, because that's how they work. So you'll get whatever layer you're ready to hear today. And if you write it down, which is why I say write it down, later on when you go back and revisit it, you'll get more because there are so many layers mixed in there. When you're ready for it, it's there waiting for you. So it's totally amazing. let me know if that answers your question, Harry's mom. Melinda is giving an up vote for the Saturday events. Yeah. And I always appreciate you being there. Joshua, anyone claiming to access the Akashic Records only return with gossip. No one. Okay. That's your opinion, Joshua. You're entitled to it. That's fine. But I don't think you really want to be on this particular session because that's what we were talking about. Nima Roman, sending love and thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for being here. Okay. Again, your opinion, Joshua, but we don't need it here because we're on a different wavelength, and that's okay. You travel your path, we'll travel ours. Hearts from Carol, thank you. Hey, we're up to 17 now. Awesome. But I'm out of questions, you guys. Anything else you want to ask about? Oh, I want to tell you, if you haven't already seen it, there's a video I did, I think it was a couple weeks ago now, on the origin of the planets, which was just totally fascinating. I wasn't expecting it. It just, bam, that was the download for that day. And Metatron explained about how the planets were created, which was just totally a fascinating story. So I don't want to go too far on that because it's more fun to actually listen to the message, but there's that for you. I'm also planning to do some more of the Afterlife series. I've got several of them lined up. I've got some of them that are partially done that are waiting for me to go back and connect with that person again to get the rest. Because I really enjoy doing that when it's someone who comes forward and wants to have a conversation. The funny thing about it is I wasn't out there asking to go talk to dead people. It's just some of them started showing up in the middle of my meditation. Like when I was doing the 21-day meditation process, Robert Schuler showed up. And I have to, in all honesty, in the 80s, I was single. I had 2 kids. I was going through a really rough patch, and I watched Robert Schuler, Hour of Power, every Sunday. Loved it. But then I expanded to a place where all of a sudden he really started to annoy the heck out of me. That exaggerated way he spoke just really grated on my nerves, and I couldn't stand it anymore. So I stopped watching him. And honestly, I was in judgment of him, that he had this big ego and, all of that negative stuff. So this past year, the big thing that Metatron has been working with me on is judgment. Because if you're going to love the world and help them to expand into this new golden age, you can't be sitting in judgment. But my soul is wired to be judgy. That's one of the shadow sides of my gift. So part of the journey for me is learning how to find that balance. There are some things you do need to judge, but not other people for the way that they be in the world. So that's being worked on. So Robert Schuler showed up, and that triggered me. It's like, what are you doing here? I don't really want to talk to you. But after we talked for a little bit, he kind of opened me up to, poking fun at himself. He realizes now in retrospect that, that was ego that he was flying on, and he knows better now. So I'm really fascinated to go back and finish that conversation and post that video, because I think that'll be really interesting. I have a partial one with Maya Angelou, which Susan requested. So I'm looking forward to getting that one finished. But I had to put all that stuff on the sidelines to get this book done, or these 2 books done, rather. Actually, it's 3 books, because there's a bonus book, you guys. When you sign up and you get the books, there's a link in there to get the bonus book, which is even more. So I actually did 3 books, but the bonus is a small one. So all that's going on. And once I catch my breath from that, then I'm going to get back and do some more of those afterlife videos. So people seem to like them, and they're fun for me. So I'll intersperse them along with Metatron's messages, because that's the first priority, is getting his messages out there. But it's fun to do them, and we're encouraged to have fun. So I hope that you enjoy those. So Makoto, you've got lots of Googling to do for the images behind your door. Yeah, really. And the fun thing about Googling the symbolism of the images is sometimes you have to go through several different sources to put the pieces together. So I encourage you, keep following the trail of the symbol until you feel that hit. I got it. Like years ago, I got this story downloaded for this client, and it was all about Bach and Beethoven. No, Rachmaninoff and Beethoven. And the story centered around Rachmaninoff, But I saw him in the guise of Beethoven playing piano. And I didn't understand that. I mean, why did he have to dress up like Beethoven? So it took me a lot of research to track it down and figure it out. And there it was. It turns out that Rachmaninoff had been harshly criticized at some point for a performance that he did by this, critic of the time. And he was so devastated that he stopped playing his own music. So that's why they showed me that Beethoven Rachmaninoff, so that I could put the clue together that they were talking about not being true to yourself. And that was important for this client. She wasn't being true to herself. So sometimes it does take a little bit more digging, but until it makes sense and you can connect the dots, keep researching because there's more there. Harry's mom says, thank you. You're so welcome. Melinda, lots of love. Remember to hit the thumbs up. Oh, thank you. I always forget to ask for that. And it is important, you guys. It matters to the algorithm. And I know you're tired of hearing about that too. And we were talking about this earlier. Jacqueline brought it up about, manifesting. And so noticing that we don't have them as opposed to being in gratitude that we do have them. That's a huge thing. So I just wanted to remind myself and remind you that deep gratitude for the 10 people who gave me a thumbs up. And thank you for the person who gave me the thumbs down, because you know what? The algorithm doesn't care if it's up or down. It counts. So thanks. Let's see. John Geo, what is this channel about? You're new. Well, it's about the Akashic Records, John. So do you know what the Akashic Records are? Let's start there. Okay, we're just going to ignore Joshua because yes, he is a troll. I don't know why he's hanging around when we are not interested in hearing what he has to say, but it's okay. It's a free world. Melinda, wow, his church was amazing. I remember his church. He was on TV. Yeah, the Crystal Cathedral. And, of course, that was a big ego-centered thing, right? And you know what happened when I started to do the research after I got that part of the message from him? And towards the end of his life, his son took over. They didn't do so well. The church ended up in bankruptcy and it got bought by some other group that's using it for an entirely different belief system now, which is really interesting. But, it wasn't ever about that anyway. But what I did learn that I never knew, which was fascinating, they set that up originally in a drive-in theater. You remember those places where you drive in and you get the speaker? They were broke. They were just starting this new church. He had moved from Utah, I think is where he was from originally. I'm not remembering all the details. Maybe it was Iowa, somewhere out that way. And he and his young wife moved out there to start this congregation for the Dutch Reformed Church. That was his background. And they found this movie theater that they were able to rent to do their Sunday services. So later on, once they got the Crystal Cathedral, they still used the movie theater so that people could drive in and get their service out there and off the speakers. It was really cool. So that was kind of an inventive, creative thing that he did, but I didn't know about those. Intriguing. So like I say, I'm interested in hearing more about that story. Tara, you connected with an entity, Vishva, this morning. His appearance, wait a minute, you bounced. His appearance was like the earth or rocks. Michael said he was fine. Have you seen someone like this or heard of him? No, but there's a ton of them out there. So I've only experienced a small amount. And after the initial getting used to doing all this stuff, I stopped focusing so much on the individual because it's the collective that's sharing the message. So I don't focus so much on the individual, but I would Google that and see if it shows up. I mean, it sounds a little like Vishnu. So could it have been Vishnu? That's one of the Indian deities. So it might be that. But, if Michael gave you the thumbs up, then you're good to go. But I have in some visions, one time there was like this big eye on the side of a cliff that was like an oracle eye. So all kinds of weird stuff can show up. And, they like to make it fun. That's why the green dragon came with a message. She came in singing, "You ain't never had a friend like me." It was hysterical. She just had me in stitches. And she delivered this really serious message. So it was interesting that the juxtaposition, because it was a difficult thing that they were delivering. And putting it in the form of the fun green dragon who's singing, it made it all a better experience and more memorable, certainly. So, they'll do things like that. It's really wonderful. John, you've had a lot of supernatural experiences. Cool. Yeah. So the Akashic Records are the record of your soul. It's the book of life, you may have heard it called. And it's where everything about you since you were created eons ago is recorded. All of your past life information is there, as well as some future stuff. And you have a team that's there watching out for you, recording all of your lifetimes, and you can access that information at your birthright. So the mission that I'm on is to teach people, first of all, that the Akashic Records exist. Second of all, they are your user manual. If you're not using them, you're cheating yourself. So all that information about you is in there. I do readings for people, and I teach them about how their soul is wired, the 3 aspects of their self, their gift, their specialty, and their soul tribe, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's just a wealth of information about you, which is super helpful. So if you're having deja vu experiences, those are fragments of past life memories coming back. That's how they're coming through. Some people are having spontaneous past life memories coming up, and they do that because there's something that happened probably traumatically in that lifetime that you are now ready to resolve. So for instance, when I wrote my first book, Akasha Unleashed, the Missing Manual to You, before I wrote that book, I had this experience one day that just out of the blue, I got this download, and I saw myself as a 30-ish young woman married to this brutish man who regularly beat me. And I had no resources. I couldn't leave him. I thought I was trapped. He beat me so severely that he caused me to miscarry and lose the baby I had been carrying. And I just thought it was hopeless. No escape from this miserable life. But then one night I got up the courage, I snuck out, and I ran down this rainy road, and he came after me in his jalopy and ran me down and killed me. So that memory came. And so I got that to process. And the big thing about that was that I had made a really poor choice in marrying this guy. I hadn't allowed my intuition to guide me to a better choice. So there was this big consequence. But the interesting thing is later they connected some more dots for me. It turns out in this life, I had married that same soul and had kids with him. And then he started becoming abusive, so I left him. And the kids and I escaped, but I didn't leave when he beat me. It was only when he started in on the kids. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, and that's when I got the courage to leave. But I was this meek, afraid little mousy person, and it was really hard and scary. In fact, one time I heard this voice say to me, "You're always hiding." And I knew it was true, but I didn't understand why I was being told that or where it came from until many years later. So they connected those dots for me. And it was important for me to understand that, because part of my journey in this lifetime was overcoming all that victim energy, releasing it so that I could step into my empowered soul self, embody my gifts, and do the work I'm doing now. Because I came here, like the rest of you, in this lifetime to bring forth Earthtopia. And we got to get rid of all that crap, all that trauma, all that garbage, the karmic baggage, so that we can do that. So that's a big part of cleaning up those past life things. But the only past life things that will come forward from the records are things that you're ready to work on. You won't just be able to go randomly say, I want to know about this life and that life. And that's a whole different process. So it's purposeful, because we don't need to go back and live in the past and understand every single life we ever had and why we did what we did. We need to learn the lessons that are going to help us in this lifetime. So moving forward from that, John, just to put the cap on it, as I've done this work longer and longer, Archangel Metatron started coming and channeling through me to share messages of insight and inspiration as we move forward into this new golden era. It's the next evolution of humanity. So the energy is being ramped up. We're being called to do more, to be more, to stand up, to take our places with the other light workers. So that's kind of an encapsulated version. But if you explore the channel, you'll get a lot of answers to those questions, because there's stuff all over here. There's one live stream called What Feeds Your Soul. You might find that one really interesting, because I explain a lot more in that one. Thank you, Melinda. I'm just ignoring Joshua's questions because he is a troll, and we don't feed the trolls. But I'm not going to spend the time to delete him, so he can just hang out there and be ignored. So Amy, you enjoy listening. Bits and pieces help and inspire. I'm so glad, because that's what it's about. We're all lifting each other up. This is a group project. We are each individually walking our path and doing what we're led to do, but we're all doing it together. Just we're adding our collective voices together and moving forward. And a while back, Metatron gave me a vision of us arm in arm, linked with the angels, and we had angel armor on. It was really cool. So they shared their angel armor with us so that we could all march forward against the darkness and bring the light. It's just a magnificent vision of the future. And of course, that's metaphorical, because I don't think we're ever going to actually literally put on angel armor. He has said it's a psychic battle. We're not going to be fighting with our hands and weapons. It's a psychic battle that's being brought against us, just, like what the troll's doing, the psychic battle stuff. And John Geo, am I visible? Why is nobody responding? Oh, well, I did respond. So hopefully you posted that before I responded. Melinda, that's cool. You didn't know about that. Thank you. You're so welcome. Terry says that makes sense. Good. And laughing, I suppose, at the troll conversation. Yeah, it is pretty funny. Why would somebody do that to themselves? It's like, I don't get it, but that's okay. That's what makes the world go around. So many different people. John asks, any idea what it means to see a Native American spirit? Your room suddenly shined as you were in your bed, and there he was smiling. You had a lot of experiences, but this one got stuck in your head. Okay, so it's a couple of things that could be going on, John. It could be a vision of you from a past life, a memory, or it could be a spirit, one of your spirit guides that's coming to help you. So if you feel it's a positive experience and you want to connect with that person, what you might do, just to be safe, is ask for access to your Akashic Records. So you're energetically in the Akashic Records, then call forth that spirit to have a conversation. That way you'll know that it's all light and that you don't have to worry where that spirit came from, because the records are all divine. There's no darkness there. Oh, Terry says, thanks for sharing so many growth opportunities. You're so welcome. This is my mission, and it's my joy and delight. It's funny, you guys, because I was building databases before I started doing this, and talk about totally different work. I mean, very left brain work. I would never have thought of myself as intuitive, totally turned off that side of myself. But once I started down this path, it started opening up. And then I remembered when I was a kid, Jesus used to talk to me. But, as I went through the early victimhood that I had to go through, that got lost. All that trauma that happened, those things got pushed away. And then it started slowly opening up. And it is a journey. I mean, most people don't just connect and all of a sudden get massive downloads and have these fluid two-way conversations. It takes practice, because you have to learn to trust and believe what you're getting is real. And it's not just your ego making things up. That's a big part of it. And I do have this meditation. It's powwow with ego, higher self, and soul that I was inspired to do myself. And then I recorded it so that other people could experience it. And I don't have that link handy, but if you let me know you'd like it, I'll get you a link so that you can listen to it. It's really fascinating, because I sat down with them, we had this conversation, and it turned out all ego wanted was to be heard. And when I explained to her that soul was ready to soar and she was holding us back, she begrudgingly allowed that maybe she could loosen up just a little bit and meet us halfway. And ever since then, it's just been so much more soaring and so much less resistance from ego. Because my team said to me, ego doesn't have to be your enemy. And that was a revelation, because I don't know, I somewhere got the impression, maybe that's what we were taught somewhere along the way, that ego was your enemy, and you had to always be careful of it. So that's why there's all that suspicion about not letting ego lead you astray. But the truth is, ego is there. It's a part of you, and it serves a purpose of keeping you safe. So ego's just trying to get you to death safely. That's all it's worried about doing. But meanwhile, soul and higher self have other plans, and you don't want to be stuck not making progress in that lifetime, because gosh, what a waste of a good lifetime. Yeah, you'll get there in another lifetime in the future, but why not live each one to the fullest? Beth, you love we're doing this together. Yeah, it's so much more powerful together. The energy just is, it brings things out, and you will find when you start doing your channeling that just being in an environment like this, things will just come out of your mouth. And like when I'm in the Facebook group for the 21-day meditation challenge, and I'm typing responses to people's messages, sometimes things will come out of my fingers and I don't know where they came from. They just, they channeled through in the moment. So the more you're connected, the more often you do this and you allow it to come through, the more will come in various and sundry ways. And it's always fun because you sit there and you look at it and you say, wow, did I write that? That's really profound. It's kind of a magical experience, but it will happen more and more. And that's what we're all moving into. And then it will just become our norm. Then we're going to go into fourth dimensional frequency. Gosh, who knows what the norm will be there. So that's pretty exciting too. John says, thank you for your time. You'll like and sub. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Look forward to seeing you next month. Makoto, listening to answers to the questions, grateful for the questions and the sharing. Yeah, me too, because otherwise you guys would just be here and I'd be talking to myself, right? If we didn't bring the questions. So speaking of which, I'm at the end of the questions. Who else has a question they'd like to ask? We have 13 people here now. Awesome. So we can end now because this is about 90 minutes, or I can go until 9 o'clock. So just let me know if you have more questions. Oh, while I'm waiting, I wasn't going to do this, but I'll do it anyway. I can't resist. So I got the proofs of the books. That's one of the steps. You have to order the paperback to proof it and see if it's okay and everything is. Hope you can see that. That's the path to hearing your angels and guides. It looks like it's backwards. Sorry about that. It's 21 days of meditation. So this is the experience that I had with Metatron, going through and doing my 21 days, and I recorded all of that for you. So the concept is you read that book to see what the experience is like, because so many people get discouraged and stop thinking they're doing it wrong. So I wanted to share all of my foibles and, the problems and tribulations and even my whining, so that you could see that that's part of the normal process and give yourself a break so that you could successfully get through the 21 days. Then this is the challenge itself. So this actually happened, the 21-day meditation challenge workbook. These are the messages that Metatron channeled each day of the first group of the challenge that we did. I put together a beta group and we did it together on Facebook, which, by the way, if you haven't been around and you don't know the story, I didn't want to do that. Metatron drugged me into it kicking and screaming. I'm like, no, I'm not ready. My plan was I'll release the books, then I'll open up the group and we'll do the challenge. Metatron is so freaking smart, you guys. He knew that this would be important. So as the people came into the group, they're all asking these questions. We had like a week before we started the challenge. They're asking all these questions that I hadn't anticipated, because remember, I didn't plan any of this. I just went along with what I was being asked to do each step of the way. So they're like, well, what do we do? And we're not sure about this and that. And they needed guardrails. So each day of the meditation, I got a new message from Metatron to share with the group to lead them through. So that's what the second book is. And then there are, journal pages with lines so that you can write your own experiences. See that? Can you see the lines? Anyway, there's lines there. And if they don't look like lines from here, but they are. So that you can write in the book if you want to, or, you can do it on the side. And there is an ebook for each of these as well. So, you can do the ebook if you'd rather do that. But those messages were so amazing. They kept us going. They gave us new insights and encouragement along the way. And then after the 21 days, once a week for 9 weeks, I got another new message. So those new messages are in the bonus book. Now, if you were in the 21-day meditation support group, you've already gotten all of this, both of these books and the bonus, because I posted them in there as posts. But there will be people who will want to have them all in one place, as opposed to having to go searching through the group for them. So that's why the books, plus new people coming along who will be lost, because now there's a lot of conversations. People stuck around after the 21 days, they're continuing on the journey, continuing to expand, which is so wonderful, because they'll be there for the new people to share their experience. And they're still continuing to expand each day that they go, and they share their newest meditation, their new insights, their growth. And it's just a really warm, lovely, supportive group. So I hope to see you all in there. Let's see. Harry's mom, is it better to work on one thing at a time, like learning channeling and mediumship another time? I think it depends, Harry's mom. I had done a little bit of channeling and connecting with spirits before I found the Akashic Records, but to me, it just never felt like a fit, because I couldn't trust where the information was coming from, or even if it was true. Because, you get this stuff and you're like, this sounds so crazy. Who's going to believe me? And I don't know if it's true. But then when I found the records and I started connecting with the records, that I could trust. So when I went through the records, initially, I wasn't looking for mediumship. It was, connecting with my guides and getting information. But then along the way, some of these spirits popped in. And so I discovered for myself that, yeah, it's all there. You can do it all. So my experience is just by doing it through the records, you can do it all at the same time if you want to. Totally up to you. I mean, if let's say you go into your records and you're in the middle of a meditation and some departed person comes forward to speak to you, you're not going to turn them away. You're going to have a conversation, right? So there you would be just naturally evolving into that up-leveling of your gift. So yeah, I mean, and always do what feels best for you. Check in with your solar plexus. Do the things that feel the best, because that's always the highest optimal choice for you. Oh, thank you, Melinda. Yeah, I'm glad you like them. I think this one's a little too dark. So that purple looks a little muddy to me. So I'm going to try and lighten it up just a little bit. I like this purple strip, but this part, I think I blurred it too much and it's a little muddy. So I want to brighten it just a tad. I think that'll look better. It looks really great on the thumbnail on Amazon, but in person, it's not what I envisioned, but very close. So it's all good. And I saw this image and it was like, oh, this perfectly encapsulates the energy and the feeling I get from Metatron. So even though it doesn't match the main book, and I'm thinking, oh, do I need to make them match? Isn't that kind of the way it's done? And then I thought, let that go. We're breaking all the rules here. We're doing what feels right. And it felt right to put this more, I don't know, magical cover on the second book. So that's what I did. Okay, SD Shakti. Yes, I have a question about my new fur baby. He seems to be a wonderful mix of my other two cats. Okay, so I'm not doing personal questions on this one, Shakti, but if you come to my third Saturday Zoom call, I'm happy to answer all those questions. So if you're not already on my mailing list, you would need to sign up for the VIP list, and then you can come on the third Saturday. Sorry, I don't type and speak at the same time very well. I need to copy that. Make sure I spelled it right. Yeah, I think so. So then I could answer questions about your kitty there. Be glad to. But if you have a metaphysical questions, please put them in there. So the fur families, how do they find you? That's metaphysical. I'll take that. So sometimes it's a pet spirit that's been with you before. And sometimes it's just one that your energies are complementary and attracted together, right? Because we know there's no accidents, there's no coincidences. So when we choose, or one chooses us, we know that's not random. There's more going on there. But, the really interesting thing about that, it just reminded me, we had this amazing rescue border collie mix from the North Shore Animal League in Long Island, as a matter of fact. He was just an amazing dog. We loved him to pieces. And we had him until he was 14, which is quite old for a dog that breed. And when he left, we all were just so devastated. We wanted that dog back. So we were asking for that spirit to come in another dog. So when we got our next dog, we ended up getting this standard poodle, Sapphire, which a lot of you met on our calls because she would be around barking and hanging out and carrying on. I thought that was the same soul. I'm not 100% sure, but it felt like it. It felt familiar. And I had asked for a sign, and that puppy gave me that sign. So we chose her. And then we went through this period of time where she's not Joshua, and we weren't so happy with her. And then I had this revelation that how unfair is that to Sapphire? She is Sapphire. She is not Joshua. She needs to have the opportunity to be her own self. So when we put our expectations on that next pet to be one that we had before, we're closing the doors on some opportunities, right? So, we adored Sapphire, and we were devastated when she left us last year after 12 years. So I think it's better just to be open to whatever one wants to come into your life, whatever one's a match at the time, rather than putting those expectations on them, because we wouldn't want that done to us. So it was really a massive lesson that we got out of that. So I let that go, and I encourage people, ask if they'll come back to you. And if they choose to, that's wonderful. They might come in a different breed or shape or something. So be ready for that. And maybe the personality would even be different. So it will never be the same. And, you may not be as happy as if you just allowed the right one to show up. So there's all of those things going on. And there was something else I was going to say, but it's gone now. So let's see what else is here. So Melinda's signing off. Thank you. Sweet dreams. Have a great evening. Well, thank you, Melinda. I'm so glad you could be here. And Beth doesn't need to match. Yeah, I agree. And the color scheme is complementary, so that's good enough. Carol, you had a yellow lab named Paris from North Shore. Great organization. Yeah, funny story about that. When he was, I think about 12, he was always frightened of fireworks. And there was one time where he ran away. The fireworks scared him. We couldn't find him for days. We were devastated. We thought we'd never see him again. He had the tag from North Shore because they give you that number. So we still had that. So I called them, and they were just astonished that we still had this dog 12 years later. And in fact, we ended up having him for 14, but because we did find him, our neighbors helped us find him. He was at that point blind and not getting around very well, and he had wandered away. So we couldn't find him, but they heard him barking, and thankfully we got him back for 2 more years, which was such a blessing. And then Sapphire was just amazing. She and my granddaughter Francesca were just bonded. We had Sapphire before we had Francesca. So when Sapphire passed, that was super, super hard for Francesca because she doesn't know life without Sapphire. So it took her a long time. But by some amazing blessing, she was here visiting us when it happened. So she laid with her last night and cuddled with her all night long, and get me crying here, but it was so beautiful. They had that time to spend together, right up until her last breath. So we were very blessed in that way. Okay, let's see what else we got going on here. Carol, you want to learn animal communication. You've got rescue horses, and when you ask them their story, you get Zippo. When you don't ask, stories come to you. Yeah, I know. That was me in the beginning, because that's how I started with animal communication, because I had this horse that was very troubled and I was trying to help her. And she actually led me on this odyssey to where I'm at today. So I had the same problem. Whenever I would try to communicate, I was getting nothing. But then I knew a lot of things about her. I was just intuitively picking up things. And people remarked upon how much I knew about her. And it's like, I thought that was just normal, but apparently it wasn't. So I was getting things without realizing. So the difference, it's resistance. When you're trying hard, it's like you're clamped down and you're blocking it. So when you're in the flow, it comes. So if you can just, be in that relaxed place, and just like you're having a conversation with them, pretend that they're answering you and believe what they say is real, because it probably is. Because how are you going to make that stuff up, right? Stuff will come through. Now, it's harder to do with your own animals because you know them, and you will kind of put your own thoughts of what you think they would say. So I recommend, to learn it, do it with animals you don't know, because then the stuff that comes through, you will have no idea, but you can ask the owner and get some feedback on that. That'll help you a whole heck of a lot. The other thing that will help, that really made a difference for me, was going into the records. If I go to the records first and then I connect with the animal, then I can trust what comes through. And it just feels more relevant and valid. So try that and see what happens. And there's a prayer in the book that you can use to access the records and close the records. And I've got that on my website and various places you can find it if you don't want the book, because nobody has to get the book. I just want you to know it's available. But you could simply say, I'd like to access my Akashic records. So you go into your records and you call forth that animal to meet you there. Try that and see what happens. Makoto, sorry, about physical manifestation of ascension. Are physical events that happen during meditation, like shaking, ticking of the body, proof of that, or something else? It depends, and I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but yeah, sometimes I will get physical manifestations during a meditation, especially if I'm doing it for someone else. If I'm doing a reading for somebody, several times I've gotten like this putrid pit in my stomach, and it was so powerful. I felt like I was going to throw up. I was like dry heaves, and I had to like kind of throw up to let the energy flow out. So, sometimes you will get that. And in those instances, it happened because it was important to share that with the person so they could see how intense it was, how important it was to get the message. Otherwise, there's no need for that, because we don't need to be tortured. We're just delivering messages, right? They don't want to make us uncomfortable or hurt us. But every once in a while, something like that will come through, very visceral, because we need to share that visceralness with the person we're doing it for, if that makes sense. And Carol, you say, lucky you found him. Joshua, yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, what a blessing that was. We really had resigned ourselves that we wouldn't see him again. And so we got 2 more years, which were really precious. Carol, is that your ego? It's probably your ego telling you that you can't trust what you're getting. Yeah. So ignore it. You can say, thank you, Miss Ego. You can have a seat now. We're doing something else. We'll talk to you later. Or, whatever you feel like saying. But I do that sometimes. Just, it's silly and funny, and it feels good. So I do that. But just when you're in the records, know that what you're getting is from your guides, or from, the animal that you call forth, right? So when you're there, just trust that that's what's coming through. And it may not be 100% perfect, but it's going to be a way more perfect than you think it is. That's just the way it works. When your intention and your energy is placed in the records, that's what you're getting, right? Ego is taking a back seat during that moment. So what you get, trust it, take it, run with it. Some of it may not be exact. That's okay. Enough of it will be that it's a good place to start. And then you just build on that. Practice, practice, practice. You need to know how to go into the records. Yeah, you can grab those prayers. Like I said, they're in this book. They're in several of the videos on YouTube, because I've shared them a lot. And gosh, they're all over the place. So you can find them. And you don't have to use my prayer either. You can make your own up. You can use the one from Linda Howe. She's got what does she call that? Gosh, I've forgotten. Oh, the pathway prayer, she calls it. That's out there. There's a number of them. But really what it boils down to is your energy and your intention. So if you simply ask, I'd like access to my records, they're yours. You have the right to do that. Now, sometimes in the beginning, it helps to do that ritualistic prayer kind of thing, just because it helps you shift your energy and have more faith. But you literally can. You could simply say, activate records and access them. I recommend you do that after you've done it for a while and you're comfortable and you can trust that you actually did. When I'm going in to channel a message, like the messages from Metatron, I do a prayer because I don't know, it just feels right. But very often I don't bother with a prayer. It's just a thought. Access my records, and there they are. So you got to kind of play with it and find out what works for you. The most important thing I think I want you to know, Carol, the rules don't necessarily apply to you, other people's rules. It's about testing, seeing if they work for you. If they do, great. If they don't use them. Make your own rules. You are a sovereign soul. When I started doing this work, I was taught you have to open the records, you have to close the records. Well, I kept forgetting to close them. And they said, oh, you'll be like a space cadet. You'll be walking around and in this weird place, and it's not a good thing to do. Well, I didn't find that to be true at all. I forgot to close them, wasn't even aware most of the time that they were still open. And one day Metatron says to me, why would you want to close them? And I'm like, oh, you're right. Why would I want to close them? I like being connected all the time, so I don't close them. So lots of rules like that people will tell you that aren't necessarily true. They might be true for them or whoever created the rule, but you got to test and find out if they're your rule, because remember, we're all wired differently. Different rules apply. Okay, so we got about 15 more minutes, you guys. Beth, you got to run. That's awesome that you were here, Beth. Thank you so much. And Carol says, thank you for answering my question. You're so welcome. Makoto, sorry, I keep getting that wrong. He says, thank you. I'd have to ask about my experience in the Saturday session. Yeah, you can do that. I'm not sure if you're meaning the one that you attended last time or in the future. So let me know which that is. Harry's mom, one time you meditated and you asked for Edgar Casey to come in, and he did. Ooh, cool. Then you asked him to show you your records, and he said, you can go directly. You don't need me. And he disappeared. Yeah, how awesome is that? And it's true. You don't. It's yours. You have the right to access it whenever you like. It's all there for you. And you just ask for help when you go in. That is so cool. Edgar Casey was just an amazing human being, way ahead of his time. We were so blessed. Ivana says, you love being connected all the time. Yeah, because it just feels good. Why would we not want to be connected? You know, that's why I feel like I'm walking through life holding Metatron's hand. And what's to be afraid of or worry about? And you've all got that. Whether it's Metatron or some other member of your team or just the entire, volumes of your records, you're connected always. And of course, divine, sometimes divine themselves will show up in a meditation or a message, which is really cool. The funny thing is, I don't usually ask for divine themselves to come forward because it doesn't matter. I'm getting it from divine anyway, just through, the helpers. But once in a while, they do come through, and beautiful meditations have sprung from that. So when I get the time, I am going to do that little book of meditations where I write them all out, because, most of them are available either on YouTube or on my website. You can listen to them. But me personally, when I do a new meditation, I like to read it, because then I know what's coming. I can just relax and be in the meditation more fully. Whereas if I've never heard it before, I'm always anticipating and getting things wrong and feeling like I have to back up, and it's just not a flowing experience. And we're all about being in the flow right now. So that's one of the projects, is to get a bunch of those into the little book of meditation so that you can all read them and find the ones you enjoy the most. You can, then go listen to the recordings, which I'll have links for the recordings. And you can use those as springboards to create your own. The amazing thing about them is that they can inspire you about what's possible, because, we're in our little boxes. And until we're able to look outside and see the options available to us, sometimes we just don't think about them. So it's really cool to see all these different versions and things that have come forward, and then take that and shape it for our own personal use, because you can change any of them to fit your situation. And by the way, there's one on my website called Connecting with Guides. If you haven't downloaded that one yet, and you're wanting to have this conversation with your guides, even before you maybe read the book, do that meditation, because it's set up, it was a special download, but it's set up so that when you get to the end, I stop talking and I leave you in that energy so you can stay connected to your guide and continue the conversation. Because, you know, the thing I hate is you're in this meditation and you're really connected, you're getting something, and then the person who's guiding you just cuts it off. And there you are. And now you can't get back in that energy because you were rudely interrupted. And of course, they don't mean it to be that way. But that one was inspired that I tell you at the beginning, when we get to the end, I'm just going to go quietly and leave you in this meditative state. You stay as long as you wish, because now you're connected. Why would you want to not be there and finish the conversation? So that's a really special one. And I encourage you to get that. It's called Connecting with Guides on akashaunleashed.com. Carol, thank you. You just signed up as a VIP. Awesome. I look forward to seeing you on the third Saturday. Makoto, I meant the one in the future. I missed the last one. Okay. Got the time wrong. Oh, okay. For some reason, I was thinking you were there. I guess it's just because you said you were going to be there and I had it in my head that you were. Yeah, that's awesome. I look forward to seeing you there. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay, Ivana, it's amazing how much we can do when we know we can. So much we don't know, we don't know. Yeah. You remember the first time you were told you could access your records, it changed your life. Oh, that's beautiful. And that's why I wrote Akasha Unleashed the Missing Manual to you, because it's your user manual. Imagine if as children or even adolescents, teenagers, we were given our user manual, how our lives would have been so much different, richer, fuller, more connected sooner. It would have made all the difference in the world. You know, one time I was doing these readings for this street fair, and this mother and her 3 little girls came. I think the oldest was 12. The oldest was a communicator. And I said to her, do people tell you you talk a lot or you talk too much? And she got these big saucer eyes and she says, yeah. I said, you know what? It's okay. You're wired to be a communicator. It's natural for you to talk a lot. It's okay. Can you imagine hearing that as a young child, getting that information, feeling better about yourself, and then not shutting your gift down, then having to figure it out later and open it back up? Oh, amazing. I would love to get more kids on board, learning about their gifts and the whole package so that they could start using it more consciously sooner. Because imagine how that would change the world so much faster. So yeah. And it's okay that we got it later in life. We got it when we were ready for it. But I just see a time when we'll all know this information about ourselves. Then we'll be able to use it consciously to create these magnificent lives that much faster. Okay. We're winding down, you guys. So any last minute questions before we call it a night? Ivana says, thank you. You're excited for all that I'm bringing into the world and you appreciate me. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. My soul sister, Ivana, took my course on learning to read your Akashic Records, and she discovered that we were sisters in a past life. And I thought, oh, no, she's probably just making that up. She's excited, because brand new to learning how to do this, right? That would be natural. But she was right. I checked. We were sisters in a past life. It was really interesting. That hasn't happened before. I've connected with people and then told them about it. But for somebody to actually notice it and share it and it's accurate, it's like, oh, that's really cool. So I'm looking forward to you expanding into your journey with the records, Ivana. And you never told me about your experience with Metatron. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that too. I imagine you've done that by now. Carol says, I agree. You've been listening for about a year. Oh, so cool, Carol. So glad. So Carol, did you come as a result of Sheila's remote view show? Is that how you discovered my channel? Because that's where a lot of people came from, which was really amazing and so wonderful. So in fact, don't tell her, But in the acknowledgments, I'm giving a deeply heartfelt thank you to Sheila. She had to go first because it was her opening that door and introducing me to so many of you that was a big part of this book being birthed and this experience. It had started before that, but she brought it to this level where it's going to reach so many more people that it's going to bring forth Metatron's vision for this. Because, like I said, I'm just the messenger, I'm just delivering. But my job is to get it out to as many people as possible. And Sheila opened the doors to get it out to a lot more people. In fact, a lot of people went and got my first book as a result of that show. So she's been such an amazing blessing. And I had to thank her in here. I haven't told her that yet, but I will. I'm excited to tell her. It's going to be fun. Cosmic Toga Party. Yay. So glad you made it. Harry's mom, thank you for doing this and all your help. Big love. Big love to you, Harry's mom. Thanks for being here. Ivana, it's so cool. Thank you. You've connected 2 times with Metatron. Awesome. I can't wait to hear about it. Carol, you honestly don't remember? You've slept a few nights since then. Yeah, I understand. I was on the remote view with Dr. Whimsy and Sheila, and it's a little bit out of my element because I don't do the political stuff, but on that day I did, and I don't read cards. I mean, I do for fun, but I would never presume to do them in that environment. So I was using my pendulum to douse the answers along with their reading. So it was a big challenge, a lot out of my comfort zone, but it was fun. And I look forward to connecting more in the future. In fact, Sheila had me on to teach a dowsing class to her private member group, which was fun also. Yes, Sheila from Celtic Tarot. She is amazing. I just adore her. She's my hero. Carol, you were listening to her. You were one of the early birds before the election. I can never make those early birds because I'm not an early bird. I'm the one who stays up until 2 a.m. And so no, those morning hours don't do it for me, but we all function, but I get the replays because her stuff is just so amazing. I really love listening to her. And I really love those Kipper readings that she does. They are fascinating. I wish she would do more of those. I keep telling her I want more Kipper readings. She went through some stuff. I saw that, and I haven't spoken to her, so I don't know what's going on, but I'm looking forward to catching up with her and being supportive to her because she is such an amazing support to so many people in the community. Just an angel in our midst, really. Yes, the same Sheila, Cosmic Toga Party. Carol, she went through, I got that one already. And you're a member. Oh, so if you're a member, Carol, then you might have seen that dowsing lesson that I taught to the group. Makoto, the session with Sheila. Oh no, that's not Makoto. Or is it? Yeah, the session with Sheila and Whimsy got you here too. Awesome. Yeah. It brought a lot of people. It was such an amazing blessing. And the funny thing is they came thinking I was going to be doing political reading. So a lot of them came and left very quickly, but more stayed because they are light workers. They are on the path and they're interested in learning and growing together so that, oh my gosh, let's get to Earthtopia sooner, you guys, because we are so ready. I mean, this COVID thing has just been off the charts challenging, but we are slowly moving through it. And please be careful because last month Metatron said it's not over yet. So don't let your guard down, still do the precautions, take care of yourself. We've still got a ways to go. He is consistently saying that not until 2023 are we going to get back to what we might feel is normal. It's going to be a different normal, but we would feel normal. So there's still ways to go through 2022. And I suspect that has a lot to do with the political landscape and the way things are changing. So yeah, some bumpy roads ahead, but I'll keep doing the monthly forecasts and getting the updates for you. Let me know if those are helpful. And I'm looking forward to the day that they start bringing more positive stuff. I mean, there's always uplifting, positive, encouraging words, but there's still that undercurrent of it's not the time to let down your guard. Take care of yourself. As Whimsy keeps saying, be about your business, take care of you. And yeah, there probably are going to be some food shortages. It's not going to be severe in the US is what Metatron is saying, but we are going to have some parts of the country that may be struggling a little bit. And then we should come through that pretty quickly. So, do the preparation, be ready, take care of you and yours so that we can all continue moving forward together. Horses got you up early. Oh, yeah. Your horses or somebody else's horses? And Carol says she hasn't done Kipper in a long time. No, she hasn't. A while back, maybe, I don't know, a couple months she did. I think along with the water bendita, she might have done a Kipper in that time frame when she first brought on water bendita. Yeah, she has the biggest heart. She's just so amazing. Carol, you'll look that up, the dowsing. Yeah, she got rods. It was really cool. Rods are fun. And you guys can all do that. That's what they used to call the water witches. They'd go out with the rods and they'd find water. And you can do that with a pendulum too. So it's funny, I did that here when we were going to do a well. And the spot that I chose, they went about 100 feet down through lots and lots of rock. We had this big pile of gravel when they got done drilling, but they went down to this amazing water that when we got it tested, they said, it's so pure. It's just water. It's like, oh, that's really awesome. And you can use it for finding things. Like one time the hubby was working on the lawnmower and he lost this bolt, like a bolt this big in the grass. How would you find that thing? Because the grass was yay tall. I went out there with my pendulum and I'm looking around, is it to the left? Is it to the right? Is it backwards? Is it forwards? And narrowed in and I found it. So you can do all kinds of fun stuff with pendulums. And that's part of the expansion and the fun that we're moving into. So be playful with all of this stuff. And bring more joy and playfulness into your everyday, because that will help you expand faster too, faster and easier. Harry's mom, you like this better than political readings? Thank you. I appreciate that. I love the political readings. I'm watching all of them. And did you guys see Ellie's this morning? She did a really fun one on whether or not our, DJT is calling on dark energies. And it's like, oh my gosh, that is so funny to do that on the Day of the Dead. How ironic is that? So I enjoy them, but most of the people who are following me are not coming here for the political stuff. And there's way more talented people out there doing that. So I'm going to let them do that. And I'll stay in this lane because this is my mission, from my team to do this work, to bring it to you guys. And I'm learning and growing right along with you. So it's a magical journey, and it's just an honor and a pleasure to have you along with me. Carol, you were blessed outside with the horses mostly, and you're very careful with social distancing. Yeah. That's the wonderful thing about the horses. They are such beautiful therapy when you're having one of those days. My husband says to me every once in a while when they're being mischievous and getting loose and causing trouble, and you like horses, why? And I just tell him it's mental health. I can see them from my kitchen window in the pasture. That alone is calming. But then going and spending time in their energy is so healing. I had this horse once that was a rescue from the racetrack, a standard bred. He had been raced to 7 and he was incredibly lame. They had worn out all the cartilage in his pastern. So that would be like the ankle. And I got him to keep my horse company because she was here by herself when we first moved here. So he came as a companion, and I was doing equine rehab at the time. That was something I tried for a while. So I was hopeful that I could heal him and get him sound, but I never knew if I'd be successful because they had injected silicone between his joints to keep him racing longer. So how do you come back from that? But I used a lot of energy work on him. I used a lot of herbs and natural remedies, supplements. And I did finally get him pasture sound. And then years later, he was sound enough for light riding. You couldn't ride him heavy, but he was a medicine horse. And I knew that about him. That energy was there. Just his eyes, you could sink into those pools of his brown eyes. But he wanted to be a healer. He let me know that. So eventually I connected with this family, this little 7-year-old girl, and he connected. It was a love match. He became her horse. She took him to 4-H and she showed him and won all kinds of trophies and ribbons. And they did some amazing things together. But the other amazing thing is he got to be the healing horse. The family was connected with this Christian camp that brings Johnny's kids. You know, if you're familiar at all with some of the big names in Christianity, Johnny is somebody who was paralyzed many years ago. And she's got this program for children who are physically challenged. So they bring Johnny's kids every year to this camp. And there are other times when they have, children with disabilities come. They take him to these events and he ministers to those children. Oh my gosh. I had to keep him for 10 years because she wasn't born yet before he could meet her and move on. But it was a remarkable story and such a blessing to be part of it. Yeah. It's just one of those experiences in life. So yeah, horses are amazing. I'm right there with you. Ivana, you jumped on me again. Where'd you go? Oh, the monthly forecasts are invaluable. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I don't get a lot of comments on them, interestingly enough, and there's a lot of information in there. So it's interesting, but yeah, I appreciate you letting me know. It really helps. Nancy, I agree, Harry's mom, the political stuff gets heavy, and thank you. You're so welcome. Yeah, Metatron has been telling me that I need to back off a little bit. We need to know about it because we're responsible citizens, but we don't want to get in the muck and the mire and really get pulled down. So if you're watching Autumn, she's doing her nails and her hair and lipstick and all that fun stuff to stay out of the muck and mire, but still be responsible and know what's going on. I really admire that. Did you see her Halloween costume? Oh my gosh, it was so awesome. Loved it. Carol, you stocked up today, actually, and you had a small rescue, but you sold your property. You still have 11 horses. Wow, 11. Oh my gosh. I had 7 at the height because people, once they found out I was doing this rehab, instead of paying me to rehab their horses, which was my plan, they dumped them on me. So I ended up with 7 horses. And it took me quite a few years to rehome them, but now I'm down to just 2. So that's perfect because you got to have 2. You can't have just 1. If you don't know about horses, because they're prey animals, if they're all by themselves, they get very afraid, very nervous, and it's a miserable life for them. Because when you're all alone and a predator comes, you're going to be dinner. But if there's somebody else, then you've got the chance to outrun them and survive while they become dinner. That's how horses think. So having 2 is the minimum. Harry's mom, you got some dowsing rods. They're awesome. They amaze you every day. Oh, that's so cool. Keep playing with them. Yeah. And, experiment, because you might discover whole new worlds of things that you can dowse about that other people haven't even done yet. So yeah, be open to those downloads. And looking for water is also fun too. And I think that's important, Harry's mom, because I don't know why I have this feeling as we're going through all this climate change and the things with Earth that the day might come when water becomes scarce. And of course, excuse me a moment, with companies like Nestle buying up all the water and saying that we don't have a right to water, free water. I just have this feeling that water is going to be a precious commodity. So having the ability to find it could be invaluable in the future. So that's an awesome talent to have. Carol, Ellie is so good. Yeah, she is. She is so much fun. Cosmic Toga Party, you saw her. Yeah, you guys have good taste. Carol, your favorite is Kim at Intuitive View. I don't think I've seen Kim yet. The problem is there are so many good ones. It's like if you watched them all, that's all you would get accomplished. And I had to cut back because these books had to get done. Metatron was like, not literally, but almost tapping his foot like, come on, we got to get this done already. Been long enough. So I had to back off a little bit. I just caught up a little bit the other day after I hit the publish button and took a break. Extend BSD. You're going to have to tell me how you say that because that one eludes me. It says thank you and for being on the journey. Yeah, you're so welcome. Carol, I think you mean Ellie talks you off the wall. Yeah. Yeah, her stuff is really amazing. And Carol said she rescued off the kill lot in Kansas. They would tell you to come and get them, and you were the conduit. You've healed and placed 100 horses. Oh, bless you. 100 horses in 8 years. That's an angel mission in itself, because horses are just such special creatures. Cosmic Toga Party, you like the horse story? Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. Carol says it's amazing about the standardbred. Yeah, it really was. You know, he was one of those horses with such a big heart that he raced and won being lame, because that's what was asked of him. That's just the kind of horse he was. Just truly a gem. You know, all horses have healing ability, but there are some that are specifically medicine horses. It's like that's their sole purpose. And he wanted that. It's like I got a thoroughbred at one point. He raced until he was 3 or 4 and he was too slow. So they sold him off, and he went through a few owners before he ended up here, and he was lame. And I brought him back to soundness. And he told me he wanted to go on fox hunts. He loved to jump. He loved racing cross country. So I finally found him a home. He went to this stable where they did eventing. So he was real excited about that. But the interesting thing, it's another amazing story. The lady who came to see him, she's saying, you know, I used to have a thoroughbred named Rusty, because that was the name he came with. And she said, what's his registered name? And I told her, and she said, oh, it's the same horse. She had sold him to somebody. He had gotten lame. He came to me, and what was it, 6 or 7 years later, she came to look at him, and she ended up, she had to buy him because of that. I mean, oh my gosh, what a coincidence, right? So she bought him, and she ended up selling him to a girl in her barn who wanted to event and fox hunt. So he got to do those things. And the two of them, oh my gosh, they were so perfectly matched, because he had one of these really goofy, silly personalities where he was always like picking on the other horses, being very mischievous. If he were a boy, he'd be the one who dipped the girls' pigtails in the ink, always into something. And the two of them got along so great. She taught him tricks, and they just had a great time together. They did the eventing and the fox hunting. So that was another really wonderful, happy success story. Carol, you had 34? Oh my gosh, bless you. So you were in Kansas and originally from Connecticut. Wow, that's a big change, especially politically, right? That's why they're so intuitive. They read energy from being herd animals. Yeah, absolutely. You know, they read body language, and I'm convinced they can see the energy too. Cosmic Toga Party. Kim and Debbie at Freebird are awesome. You signed up for their mediumship course. Oh, that's cool. Have fun. Yeah. I saw Freebird. I think she was on Sheila's channel. She was really good. I don't think I've seen Kim though. Carol says I would love Kim. She's the most soothing. I will check her out. Thank you. And Harry's mom agrees. She's the best, pure heart, no ego. That's awesome. Those people are such blessings. Cosmic Toga Party. Carol, 100 horses in 8 years. That's fantastic. Congratulations. It really is. Carol says, oh my gosh, Rusty. Yeah. Oh, that Rusty. He was something else. I was so happy to find him a home. Oh my gosh. He would tear the blankets off the other horses, just, you know, being playful and silly. And I personally do not like that kind of a personality in a horse. It's just, it doesn't mesh with me. So, you know, even though I adored him, he was so cute, but oh gosh, I was glad when he went. And then to have him go to a place where he was so loved and he got to do what he wanted to do was just amazing. So I had to give that up though, because this work is more important. So I did have that 10-year period where I was doing that, and it was really wonderful. Lots of good experiences there. Carol, 34 was your max. Yeah. Yeah, because if you don't have somebody helping you, they are expensive. Harry's mom says yes, no ego. Okay, you guys, now we've successfully gone past 9 o'clock. So I think I am going to call it a night. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you hopefully on the 3rd Saturday, if you can join us on the Zoom call. If you didn't already sign up for the list, that's akashaunleashed.com/VIP. Join us. I'll send you the Zoom link, and there we do personal questions. So you can ask anything you like there. And then I'll be back here on the first Monday of December for another live stream. So I look forward to seeing you then. And meanwhile, please like, comment, you know, share with other people. Got to get Metatron's word out to more people so that we can move forward faster, because some of this stuff really sucks. It's time to put it behind us. All right. On that note, thank you so much. Much love to you all. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.